Jonathan, this is for you. A couple years ago, when Brandon first came up, you called him fearless even then, but what's it been like for you to see what he's evolved to become here the last couple of years, what he's been able to do this postseason?
Well, I've always said to me that the best characteristic to his game is not necessarily his flat-out skill, his skating, and all the tangible part of his games that you can see firsthand. But I think even when he came into the league, he was always pushing himself every night. He was assuming more responsibility, whether it was scoring goals or playing two-way hockey, and I think he just keeps showing that. I think he just assumes that responsibility, and he wants to be one of the best players. He wants to contribute in games like tonight, and we saw that again. And obviously our team's having a lot of success this postseason. He's a big reason why.
Jonathan, how much did it mean to get the first goal this evening?
You mean for myself or for our team? Or, I think we've definitely been talking. Everyone's talking about our team starting the game with the lead tonight. It took us about a period and a bit, and we found a way to get that first one. I think we've seen in this series, the brief times we've had the lead, they bounce back really hard, and we always have to kind of survive an onslaught. And I think tonight we did a better job of responding after we scored goals, and especially in the third period. You can definitely expect their team to come at us hard and press late in the game when they're down a goal, and it's going to get crazy in some moments, and I think we did a pretty good job of handling it.
This is for both of you guys. Jonathan, after the team was lost a few guys after 2010, you had some younger guys come up like Brandon and Andrew, and they were sort of brought into the fold and part of this culture and part of this winning team seemingly very easily. And then Brandon, sort of now you have another crop, Teuws and TVR and some of these guys are coming. Do you take lessons that you learned, from Jonathan and Patrick and pass those along?
Yeah, I think those two guys, especially with the amount of skill they have, it's an easier transition for sure. And I don't know if they look up to me or it's mostly the captain here, but you watch and learn the way he plays and competes, and his passion out there is bar none. So he's a special player to learn from, and I know me personally, that's who I looked up to, and I'm sure those young guys are doing the same.
Question for either or both. When you noticed that Bishop was not out on the ice for the pregame warm-up, did you have to make any mental adjustments or switch the scouting reports in your heads to adjust to realizing that Vasilevsky would be your opponent tonight? I
don't think it changes the way we wanted to play the game too much. At the end of the day, to a certain degree, you could see Bishop, fighting something throughout the series. But obviously he's played through it. He's played well, just like any other player. It's been a long season for both teams, and obviously, everyone's sucking it up and finding ways to perform. So, regardless of who was starting the game, I think they've got two big goaltenders who can make big stops for them, and we want to do all those little things we've been talking about, the usual things as far as traffic and getting those shots through. And again, we didn't quite do that early and often enough in this game, but I think we had some chances again where pucks were just missing empty nets and redirections and plays like that. I mean, we were there, we were around the net. We just maybe got to put pucks on net a little bit more often, test them, and make them make those stops.
This question's for Brandon. Joel really likes to move you guys around on lines quite a bit during the regular season. He did that again today with you especially. Does that help you in situations like this when you're moved around so much during the regular season? Does it make it a little bit more comfortable when you do it in a situation like this and you can still be successful?
Yeah, I think anytime we have a deep team and a lot of talented players that are fun to play with. So when you get that experience throughout the season and you learn how each other move and how you play, it's that chemistry definitely helps you out there on the ice. So whether it's with Johnny or Haas or down the line with Kaner or anyone really, I'm pretty comfortable with everyone, and Q does his job well and fits and finds the right combinations.
For both of you, just how impressed were you tonight with Crawford and just in general, his performance, especially at the end of the game, and also his ability to absorb the criticism that he's taken and come through the games like this?
Well, all those things you just mentioned are really nothing new for him. We know it's a big game, and we're impressed, but we're definitely not surprised that Crow shows up and plays the way he did. And we obviously need him that way this time of year. With the guns and the ability and the offensive talent that they have to make the stops that he made tonight. Obviously, we need him to win games like this, and he's been a huge part of our success. And every time things maybe don't quite go our way for a couple games, for some reason, he's the one who takes the majority of the responsibility. I don't know why. I mean, he's at the end of the day, he's a selfless player, and he's a great teammate, and he's ready for whatever. And tonight was another great performance for him. So we want to continue to help him as much as we can.
Jonathan, this one's for you. Just when the coach announces, sort of wholesale changes up front, what is the message a player usually receives from that kind of a move from your coach?
Well, I think for the most part, we got guys going from our first line to second or third and fourth line on up. I think at the end of the day, we feel all four lines can contribute. All four lines need to bring everything to the table, offensively and defensively. And I think everyone responded. And it doesn't matter where you are. I think guys know that this is the time of year to bring everything you got and take advantage of every opportunity you get on the ice, whether it's 20 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is. So I think we got a great bunch of guys that understand that and are ready for whatever the look our coaches are trying to give our lineup, and we'll be ready for those changes and those different opportunities.
Brandon, what did you see on your goal, and how would you describe how you finished it?
I was really pretty lucky. I just saw space going to the net and tried to drive and create some chaos. The goalie made a good play with poking the puck and bouncing around to my feet. Finally, I found it to my stick and just tried to get some wood on it and get it to the net, and it's found a way in through his legs. So really, I was just trying to get to the net, create some chaos, and found a way in.
Brandon, I'm just wondering who were the guys that when you grew up, that you were fans of, and specifically maybe some playoff moments that you're trying to emulate yourself here now?
Well, growing up in Pittsburgh, it was Lemieux and Yager a lot, and even when Crosby and Malkin were drafted to Pittsburgh and played, and I was still a teenager and pretty young, so I looked up to them as well. And just being a fan of hockey, even before being drafted, I remember 16, 17 years old, watching teams that have success like the Hawks and making their runs deep into the playoffs with how they compete and the amount of talent they had. There's a lot of special players around the league, and just being a fan of the game, it tended to be more playoff hockey being watched and see players have success, and that's pretty much it.
Jonathan, there was some question coming into the game how much Johnny Oduya might be able to do tonight with an injury issue that he's battling through. I mean, he ends up playing 26 minutes, blocking 5 shots, +1. How big was that tonight, considering the situation on defense?
Well, he's been huge, and everyone liked to talk about the 4 D-men who were absorbing most of the minutes and the responsibility in the previous series. So I don't think that's changed. I think those guys are ready for whatever, whether it's playing through a few bumps and bruises. Johnny O is one of those guys, and it's going to take a lot more to stop him. So, huge for him to bounce back, and made a big difference for us on the blue line tonight.
Jonathan, what did those final 2 or 3 minutes there feel like?
Well, I guess when you're protecting a lead, especially against a team like this, they're always a lot longer than you'd think, and that's the way it is. I think you just kind of you got to know the time on the clock, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be clock watching too much. You just got to be smart and try and win draws, try and win those little battles in tight and in your zone. And they got a couple big chances there, but I think we, in some way, worked for those bounces, and we feel good about the way we close out the game. And I think we're happy about the confidence coming out of this game, knowing that we're raising our game as the series goes along, and we're excited to rest and recover and get ready for the next one.